All right, welcome to the Young Turks. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur. Wait, what is this? Normally, Anna hosts solo in the first hour on Wednesdays. I'm taking over because she's doing interviews. And I'm going to start with a couple of random notes. First one is, man, producing this show is hard. So I used to do it all the time, every day for years and years and years. But I want you guys to know, like all the videos, the pictures, the graphics, all the things that you see, that's put together by an amazing team. Normally led by Anna, and then Ashwarya, Kate, Taylor, and all the others. You do such a wonderful job, and I wanted everybody to know that. Okay, that's random note number one. Now the rest are not so random. Cameron Caskey's going to be on the show today. He's of course one of the kids, now grown up though, from March for Our Lives, from Parkland shooting. He's going to talk about the current slate of shootings, and we've got a lot to discuss. There amazing testimony today from Uvalde victims in the House. We're going to show you that, so stay right here for that as well. And then finally, if you missed the election coverage last night, so not a lot of wins for progressives. A couple advanced to general elections, that's good, but overall it was a pretty dreary night. And Michael Schur's election was up last night, and in case you missed it, I want to tell you a couple of things about it. One, it looks like he didn't win. He's not going to be in the top 2 to go into the general election. But I say it looks like because California is such a mess. You know what percentage is reporting in the district that Michael ran in? 37%. It's like 24 hours later almost, and there's only 37% reporting. Hot mess. But we did a really interesting interview with Michael last night, just as he found out the results. And it was tough. But he told us about so many different lessons that he learned from that. And one of our members wrote in saying, man, you gotta show this interview to everybody. It's gold for understanding politics. So I want you guys to know all the different candidates that we interviewed last night and we do on the primary coverages are always on The Conversation. So make sure you're checking out The Conversation, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, our own website, tyt.com. It's a very easy, convenient way to do it. But one more thing, the podcast. So the podcast of The Conversation has all those interviews as well. So, and the interviews that Anna's doing today will also go on The Conversation. So make sure you're checking that out. Okay, so now let's get started. Look at this, that's a fun sidebar. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna tell you a really interesting story now of civil war within the Democratic Party and why it's awesome. Not awesome as in fun, although it's fun as you're about to see. But it's really important and strategic. But this one's a hot mess. So let me start from the beginning and explain what's happening. Okay, so first we start with this woman, you might recognize her. She was really angry at this guy, who was now really angry because of this woman. And this guy was so duplicitous that he was going to screw over this guy, who then thought about fighting against this guy. Wait a minute, but he decided, no, I'm not gonna do that. Instead, I'm gonna fight this guy. What in the world? So then here comes this woman again, and she's elated because now he's elated, but back to the other guy, he's really mad, and so is his friend. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy steps in and helps the Republicans. This is a mess, but a wonderful mess. And then this guy comes along. You don't know this guy at all, but he's one of the worst guys in the Democratic Party. I'm gonna explain who all these folks are in a second, but he's really the guy talking for this guy who he worked for a long time, and this dude ain't happy either. And I'm glad he's not happy. There's only one guy happy in all of this mess, and it's this guy. Oh, I know that guy. All right, so let me explain now. So gerrymandering, it happens all across American politics. If you follow politics at all, you know about it. And what is that for those of you who don't know? Normally you should have districts that look like roughly like squares, rectangles, normal size and shapes, as every other country does, to determine, oh, okay, that's the congressional districts in New York, for example. But we don't do that in America. We allow our politicians to pick their own voters so that they can't possibly lose. I'll give you an example from Texas. This is what a gerrymandered district looks like. And if you don't live in America, you're gonna say, what? How are those people related? They're not even in the same city. And look, what the hell is that shape, right? No, that's, in that case, Republicans picking a district that they like that is specifically carved out of voters that they think will pick them instead of the Democrats. Now, the Democrats try to do likewise in the states that they control, but they're bunglers, serial bunglers. So they try to do it in New York, and they totally screwed it up. So let me tell you, here's a quote from the intelligence that explains what the congressional seats in New York were and what they wound up becoming. So they explain under the current map, Democrats represent 19 congressional districts in the state, and Republicans 8. Under the legislature's map, so that's the new map that the Democrats wanted in the new gerrymandered districts because of the new census, most political prognosticators thought that it gave the Democrats a shot at winning 22 seats, reducing the Republicans to a mere 4 seats depending on the national climate. So do you get that so far? They redistrict the hell out of the state. New York's a blue state, so the Democrats are trying to go from 19 seats to about 22 seats. Except they run into a bunch of Republicans and Andrew Cuomo. And what happens next? A Republican judge in Boondocks in New York, hold for Andrew, he's gonna come into the story in a second. The Republican judge says, I don't like the Democrats map. I'm a Republican, I say no. Did any Democratic judges do that in any of the red states where they gerrymandered the living crap out of it to give the Republicans an unfair advantage? No Democratic judge did that. But a Republican judge is like, I don't care, I'm partisan, I don't want it. And then another set of Republican judges agree with him on appeal, and all of a sudden they throw out the Democratic map. They're only down to now 20 seats, it looks like, instead of the 22 they were gonna get. Now, why is that important? And by the way, the last set of Republican judges, now we go to Cuomo, relied on Andrew Cuomo coming out of basically out of the political graveyard and writing an op-ed saying, now remember guys, when I wrote the original bill back in 2014, I was trying to help Republicans, and even though the Republicans are not at all in charge in New York anymore, I want to split power with them. So the Republican judges go, look, there's your former Democratic governor, Andrew Cuomo, and he says we should help the Republicans. Well, I guess that's what it is, right? So that's Andrew Cuomo's big FU to the Democratic Party that kicked him out for all the scandals that he had. So once they did that and they're down to 20 seats, now a bunch of Democratic incumbents have to fight each other because there's not enough seats, especially in southern New York. So now back to the guy that you might not have recognized in the original pictures. This guy is Sean Patrick Maloney, okay? So he is let's go to the guy after Cuomo. No, not Messina yet, Sean Patrick Maloney. There you go, and that he's on the left. Now, he's a really important character because he's the head of the DCCC. What that means is he's in charge of fundraising for the House Democrats so that they could raise enough money to protect incumbents. On the right is Mondaire Jones. Mondaire Jones is a progressive Democrat who's also in New York. Sean Patrick Maloney says, well, you know what? I'm not gonna run in my own district. I'm gonna go to Mondaire Jones' district and run in his district to try to kick him out. Then Mondaire Jones then has to decide, do I stay and fight Maloney, or do I move to Jamal Bowman's district and then we fight? But wait a minute, Mondaire Jones and Jamal Bowman are both progressive Democrats from New York. So there's one set of folks here that I have to give tremendous credit to, and that is Mondaire Jones' staff. If the intelligencer is right, when Mondaire Jones was considering running against Jamal Bowman, apparently almost his entire staff said that they would quit if he ran against another progressive like Jamal Bowman. So if that story is true, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart Mondaire Jones' staff. Thank you for staying true, thank you for being progressive, and thank you for doing the right thing. I love that, okay? So Mondaire decides that, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna go in Maloney's district, I'm not gonna go in Bowman's district. There's kind of an open district down here, and so I'm gonna run it in that district, except a guy had already said he was gonna run in that district, and a guy who lives in that district, and that's Bill de Blasio, the former mayor of New York, who's also a progressive. So now it's gonna be Mondaire Jones versus Bill de Blasio. Now, that's not ideal, but that's not as bad as Jamal Bowman versus Mondaire Jones. So I think Mondaire relatively made the right decision. I would have stayed and fought in Maloney's district, but that's gonna be super hard because Maloney has all the money. He's the one in charge of raising all of the money, including the corporate money, and that's gonna be very relevant to this race. So everything looks like it's settled, but now the progressives got screwed. They're gonna get screwed out of a district. And this is when progressives are supposed to bow their heads and say, yes, sir, may I have another, sir? Of course, sir, I will respect and cherish my colleagues who just screwed us out of a district when we could have had de Blasio and Mondaire Jones and Jamal Bowman if Maloney just stayed in his district. So you know what happened next? Here comes AOC. She comes back and goes, you know what? I'm not gonna support Maloney in his race. I'm gonna go to an old friend, Alessandra Biaggi, who is a wonderful progressive who helped Democrats recapture the state of New York from the BS set of fake Democrats that Cuomo had put in there, and helped the Republicans. Biaggi beat them back, won the seat, is a great progressive. So AOC says, you know what? I'm gonna endorse her in Maloney's seat. And that's when the establishment Democrats blow up. They're like, oh, this is outrageous. How could you do this to us? I love that part. I'm gonna get back to that in a second. But first I wanna give you a quote from State Senator Alessandra Biaggi about all of this. She said about AOC's endorsement, her endorsement is really an indication to everyone that this is an important fight for the party. She really is the standard bearer. Representative Sean Maloney's job is to maximize the number of seats that we have in the Democratic majority. And if he was doing his job, he would have stayed in the 18th congressional district. Damn right he would have, but he didn't. He was trying to squeeze out a progressive and make it an easier race for himself. He figured twofer, my corporate donors are gonna be super happy that I eliminated a progressive and I'm gonna get a slightly safer seat. Well, turns out it's not so safe anymore because AOC, who is a standard bearer, had the courage to endorse Biaggi. Now, every establishment Democrat has caught feelings of, how could you do this to us? But wait a minute, you guys are the ones who attacked first? So I'll tell you a quick story before I get to how Obama gets involved here, okay? I got in a fight in Miami. This is not a good story, okay? Let's keep it real, okay? And I've told this before to our members, tyt.com/join to become a member. Or if you're watching on YouTube, hit the join button below and get all these crazy stories. So the last fight that I was in, and you shouldn't be in any fights, it's ridiculous, and this is a good example of it. I got my face punched about 5-6 times, okay? My nose is on this side of my face, it's a mess. But finally I grabbed the son of a bitch, okay? And I put him in a headlock, that's called the Uygur maneuver. Once you go in the Uygur maneuver, nobody ever comes out, okay? So I finally got him, right? I mean, I'm a mess, but I got him. And he starts screaming, why are you grabbing me? Why are you grabbing me? Why am I grabbing you? Because you punched me in the face 5 times. That's why I'm grabbing you. Because my nose is on the other side of my face. That's why I grabbed you. But that's the establishment. After they punch you 5 times in the face, if you say, yeah, well, now I'm going to endorse someone in your district, they're like, why are you grabbing me? Why are you grabbing me? So that Maloney's super mad. And then all of a sudden, here comes Obama's top ally. Now, you probably don't know Jim Messina, but Jim Messina was campaign manager for Obama and was one of his top aides. So I don't know if this is sanctioned by President Obama, but trust me that Obama and Messina are as close as they could possibly be. And Messina, who ain't got nothing to do with nothing, is just now a corporate guy, which I'll tell you about in a second, comes out of the woodworks and then sends this tweet about AOC endorsing Biaggi. He says, this is so counterproductive. The Supreme Court is about to outlaw abortion. We could lose both houses. So we're going to focus our time running against each other? Now we're primary and committed progressives because why? If we lose the House, it's because of dumb crap like this. Whoa, wait a minute. Let's break that down. We're primary and committed progressives. Ain't nothing progressive about Maloney. Maloney's literally in charge of raising corporate cash for the Democratic Party. But Messina knows the mainstream media works for corporate Democrats. So nobody in media is gonna challenge Messina. They're gonna say, oh, that was Obama's campaign manager. Oh, of course, listen to Jim Messina. What a wonderful guy Jim Messina is. He says, oh, it's all the progressive's fault. And wait, how could it be the progressive's fault if you just told me Maloney's a progressive? Oh, because you don't really think Maloney's a progressive. In fact, you know he's not a progressive. Okay, then he says, can you believe that they are doing these internal fights? But wait a minute, Maloney's the one that started the fight in the first place, randomly going into Mondaire Joe's district, because it's 2 points, he said, safer. It's 2 points more Democratic than his seat. His seat is perfectly safe. No, he did it so that he could purposely push out a progressive. And all of a sudden though, Messina's like, oh, there's fighting in this establishment? I didn't know that. Now the progressives are fighting back. It's all their fault if we lose. And why does he says if we lose, it's because of progressives? And we've shown you this on the show many, many times. It's because the corporate Democrats know they're about to get slaughtered. They didn't pass a goddamn thing. They didn't help the American people at all. They don't want to help the American people. All they want to do is pass corporate pork bills like that infrastructure bill was, which Jim Messina loves. And he doesn't want you to get higher wages. He doesn't want you to get universal health care. They had 8 years to do it. They never did it. Under Obama, they had 8 years, and the minimum wage, they left office at $7.25, and that's where it is now. Messina loves crushing the average worker. He works for multinational corporations. And so because of their policies, they know for a fact that they are going to lose. So ahead of time, the losers are setting up an excuse. Oh, if the progressives hadn't started a fight, we would have won. Okay, you know you weren't gonna win, and you know the progressives didn't start the fight, and you know that you're gonna lose because of you, despite the fact that progressives actually pushed you to do incredibly popular bills that could have helped you in those elections. So I wanna tell you, other than being Obama's right-hand man through a lot of his campaigns, both of his campaigns, especially the second one, here's what Messina is up to lately. After Obama leaves office in 2013, Jim Messina launched the Messina Group. In this role, Messina provides strategic consulting to businesses around the world. Clients include Uber, PillPack, Airbnb, Google, Delta Airlines, Hutchison, Whampoa, and over 300 other corporations. In this role, Jim continues to advise Democratic organizations on domestic political issues in the US. I love that last sentence because they didn't even bother taking it out. They brag, that's from his website. He brags about it. He's like, I represent 300 corporations and I influence Democratic policies to help those corporations. That's on his website. He brags about it. He's the one that has turned the Democratic Party into the corporate, disgusting, oligarchy company, I just almost accidentally called it a company, into the party that it is now. It's the party that says, no, I don't want a higher minimum wage. I don't want a child tax credit. I don't want paid family leave. I want corporations to get everything. That's what Jim Messina is about, and he brags about it. And then he says, oh, I'm worried about progressives. These guys are a joke. I'm gonna read you one more thing from his website. Messina continues to provide insight on news outlets such as MSNBC, CNN, Bloomberg, Fox News, BBC, and others. Does he? Of course he does. And note that he's on all 3 of the cable shows, cable networks. Why? They all love the corporate message. All their fights are fake. All their fights are about culture wars when they're helping the Jim Messinas of the world rob you blind. The rest of it was that Jim serves on the boards of blockchain.com. Oh, great, more crypto stuff. And those are the guys that come into all the elections and try to defeat progressives, etc. I don't know about that company in particular, but the crypto guys do. Vectra.ai, Lanza Tech, United States Soccer Foundation, etc., etc., etc. So, and that's Obama's top boy, as I told you. So Obama and Messina and Maloney and Hakeem Jeffries, who is another conservative corporate Democrat that I showed you earlier, they're all furious. But guys, why am I happy? Because for my whole life, establishment Democrats have been punching progressives in the face, and progressives in Congress just take it and say, thank you, sir, may I have another? And they never, ever, ever fight back. And what do we learn between the fights between the Democrats and the Republicans? When the Republicans punch, and the Democrats never counter, the Republicans win, because that's the only message that anybody ever heard. That is why the Democratic Party, even though it's a massive advantage in voter registration, policy issues, etc., has been losing my entire life because they never punch back. They do punch progressives, and then progressives never punch back. So for the first time, AOC is actually punching back, and not through a tweet and not through things like that. No, through an endorsement saying, I want this progressive to beat that incumbent Democrat. To you and I, that might be normal, that might be obvious. Of course you're gonna support the progressive instead of the corporate guy, right? But in Washington, that's the beginning of a revolution. They've never seen progressives fight back. And that's why they're outraged. And that's why Obama's guy and all the others are saying, how dare you progressives? You're not allowed to fight back. Well, sad day for all of you. We are allowed to fight back, and now finally the fight has begun. And now we make our case. And when we do that, you know what's gonna happen? We're gonna win because we're right. We have the popular positions. All of our positions poll from 2/3 of the country being in favor all the way up to 90% of the country being in favor. So let's go fight and let's go win. And thank you, AOC, for doing the right thing here. And if you live anywhere in New York, make sure you know which district you're in and you vote for the progressive, whether it's Biaggi or Jamal Bowman. And in the district with Mondaire Jones and Bill de Blasio, look into their policies and make your own decisions. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, riveting testimony, really incredible, important testimony from the victims of Uvalde in the House. You've got to see that. Back on the Young Turks with Cenk, Uygur, Moses, and Hildegard's Goat. Wait, what? Hildegard's Goat is a handle of a person who just joined by hitting the join button below on YouTube. And so is Moses McCown. You guys are amazing. Thank you for doing the show with us. Without you guys, we got no Young Turks, and I love it. And they can't take our power away as long as you guys are members. And there's nothing they can do about it, and it drives them crazy. So I love that you do that. You did that, and everybody else. If you're not on YouTube, tyt.com/join. Iqbal, who's a member, wrote in a Cenk solo show. Love it. Ugh, love the energy. Love you. Wow, thank you, Iqbal. The love right back at you. I'm gonna read two fun super chats. LJ Wombology says, Ice Cream Wednesday with Cenk Uygur. I'm here for it. Ice cream. Okay, that's later. And then last one is a good question, so I wanted to answer it. Hello, somebody said, I don't get it. Why doesn't Mondaire Jones stay in New York 17 and fight baloney on his home turf? It'll be just as tough to beat de Blasio as it would be baloney. I love that you're calling Maloney baloney. It's the kind of thing that Biden might like. That malarkey guy over there in the 17th district. What's his name? The baloney. So there's a reason why, because Maloney has all the money in the world. He's the one in charge of raising money for Democrats. And as you saw last night, if you watched the election coverage or any of our election coverage, it turns out money in politics is pretty relevant. So he didn't want to go up against the guy basically driving the corporate money machine, and that's understandable. All right. Oh, by the way, before we go to the next story, Cameron Cassidy was going to join us from March for Our Lives. He had an emergency. He's going to join us on another episode. So just wanted to let you guys know that. All right, let's do the next story.
We were just watching a movie, and then she got an email, and then she went to go knock the door, and he was in the hallway, and they made eye contact, and he went through there and shot my teacher and told my teacher goodnight and shot her in the head. And then he shot some of my classmates and the whiteboard. When I went to the barracks, he shot my friend that was next to me. And I thought he was going to come back to the room. So I grabbed the blood and I put it all over me.
That's Mia Cirio. She was one of the victims in the Uvalde shooting. And there she's explaining to Congress how she saw her teacher being killed and how she saw her friend being killed. And then she had to actively take the blood of her dead friend and smear it all over her body so that the shooter would think she was dead and not kill her. That's in the hearings today in the House. And it was a really, really powerful testimony. Now, Matthew McConaughey thought, but we can come together. The problem is the extreme left and the extreme right, as you're about to see in this clip. But when they see the victims, and Matthew McConaughey is from Uvalde, Texas, when they see the victims, they're gonna act, aren't they? Well, hold. We're gonna find out if they're gonna act. But this was McConaughey after he gave his speech at the White House. He went on Fox News and said this.
I think we're being told we're more divided than we are. I think that the veil over the masses' eyes, I think we got the numbers, and we got to pull that veil off. Quit drinking that Kool-Aid, because we're hearing it from both sides, the extreme right and the extreme left, and they have the microphone. And I believe we have the numbers, the masses have the numbers.
So he's right about the numbers, not so right about the extreme right and extreme left. I'm gonna explain what he's right about and wrong about in a second. But first, let me tell you about the numbers. So this is from Vice News. More than 4/5 of Americans want to require background checks on all potential gun buyers. That's a lot, more than 4/5. So this is in a new CBS YouGov poll. So more good news, he's right that the great majority of the country wants all types of gun control. Almost 3/4 support passage of a federal red flag law that would allow law courts to order the temporary removal of guns from a person whom they deem a potential danger. That's 3/4 in favor of red flag laws. It's amazing. And 62% of Americans support a nationwide ban on sales of AR-15 semi-automatic weapons, while 60% of Americans think that laws covering gun sales should be more strict overall. So, well, are the Democrats gonna fight him on that? No, the Democrats agree with that. They're very happy. Even more overwhelming numbers when you look at Democrats. Are Republican voters going to fight him on that? No, the Republican voters generally agree with all those policies in big numbers, as you just saw that you can't get to over 80%, 88% of the country being in favor of federal background checks without an overwhelming majority of Republicans agreeing. So far McConaughey is totally right. How about the extreme left? Are they against that? I guess the extreme left would be progressives, right? No, progressives love those laws. They want those laws passed immediately. So what does that leave? That leaves the extreme right. Well, how did they react? Well, right after he went on Fox News, the next day, Jesse Waters, another Fox News host, said this.
Joking about the actor. I'm just saying, what are the White House going to do now? They're going to put Tom Cruise out to talk inflation? Is this where we're going?
So that's a meme from online. So Jesse Waters joking around with Karl Rove. Look at Matthew McConaughey. What are they going to bring in Tom Cruise talking about inflation? Just a couple of days ago, at the lower half of it, you saw Jesse Waters in a screenshot talking to DJ Pauly D from Jersey Shore about inflation. So these guys are a joke. They think their audience is not very bright. So they're like, who would bring out a celebrity and talk about inflation? You Jesse Waters, you would do that. And so he's attacking McConaughey saying, he's just a celebrity. You shouldn't listen to him. Well, it's gonna get much worse because now here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Apparently she has a podcast, God help us all. She is talking about how Lindsey Graham is not sufficiently loyal to the extreme right wing, that he might consider red flag laws, which remember, not only an overwhelming majority of Americans are in favor of, 3/4, but a majority of Republican voters are in favor of. But listen to what Marjorie Taylor Greene says.
He's ready to vote for anything Joe Biden wants. He is ready to violate due process. And this is everything wrong with Republicans in the Republican Party. And I'm calling out Senator Lindsey Graham, and I'm hoping every single one of you call his office and tell him that he is breaking his promise. He said he would not violate due process rights, and he's standing here ready to go ahead and do that.
Now, red flag laws do not violate due process rights. She made that up. The right wing en masse lie about that. There's of course a process that you go through for red flag laws, and that's why everybody's in favor of them, including again a majority of Republican voters. But Marjorie Taylor Greene says Lindsey Graham said in a tweet that he's considering, he didn't say he was gonna vote for him. He's willing to look at Joe Biden's proposals, including a red flag law. He didn't even mention the red flag law, but he just said in general that he's willing to look at it. And she's like, how dare you? Everybody call his office. Don't let him do any gun control. Okay, Matthew McConaughey, I really appreciate that he's fighting for gun control. We said it the other day, the 4 proposals he has and the ones that we just told you, totally non-controversial. He's totally right that the middle of the country agrees with him. But the middle of the country is not the middle of Washington. The middle of Washington is corporate Republicans and corporate Democrats, and all they care about is money. To be fair to the Democrats on this one, on almost every other issue, they agree with corporate Republicans on economic issues. But on gun control, it's just the Republicans. The Republicans are taking millions in corporate cash. They're not gonna do anything about gun control. And then they have a second problem, and it's the lunatic right, the extreme right. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene says, if you ever do anything that 3/4 of Americans want, will eliminate you from Republican politics. So whatever alliance she had with Graham, she's burning to the ground and having everybody rush into his office to make sure he doesn't pass laws that the American people definitely want. Well, and how about Republicans overall? Look, overall, they agree with most of the gun control, but a significant minority, 44% of Republicans, think that mass shootings are, quote, unfortunately something we have to accept as part of free society. No, we do not have to accept the massacres of our children. When you ask liberals, progressives, what McConaughey might call extreme left on that issue, nobody thinks that. We think, of course we can stop them, and of course part of the answer is gun control. And this is the most benign gun control there is. The 4 proposals that McConaughey talked about, it wasn't even getting rid of AR-15s, which, as you saw in the numbers, actually Americans do want to get rid of the AR-15. But this law is, hey, can you at least be 21 to get the AR-15? Can you at least have a tiny waiting period after you buy the AR-15? McConaughey made a great point on that same Fox News segment. He said, people always talk about, oh, well, you got 18, you could sign up to the military and get an AR-15. McConaughey said, yeah, but then you have at least a week of training before you even fire one bullet, right? And the Marines and the Army, et cetera, they all train you ad nauseum on that weapon, and they tell you not to use it unless you're in an extreme situation. They don't just hand it to a civilian and go, good luck, go get him. So it's super mild gun control. Every progressive agrees, everyone on the left agrees. But the extreme right says, no, we don't care how many kids are dead. And do you think they're gonna pass those laws? I got news for McConaughey, is he's gonna find out the hard way here. They're not gonna pass the laws. The Republicans are gonna get bullied by people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the NRA, Donald Trump. They're gonna get bullied. And besides which, they're willing participants. They take millions, each one of them take millions and millions of dollars from the NRA and the gun lobby. So I want to show you one last thing from Mia Cerullo, who survived the massacre. And let's take a quick look here.
If there was something that you want people to know about that day and about you, right? Or things that you want different, what would it be?
To have security for you.
Do you feel safe at school? Why not?
Because I don't want it to happen again.
Do you think it's gonna happen again?
So is she gonna get the one thing that she wants? Absolutely not. Marjorie Taylor Greene and the others say, no, the extreme right vetoes any gun control. We will not allow it. We will tear down any Republican who dares to do the most reasonable gun control in the country that an overwhelming majority of Americans want. So I appreciate McConaughey and others with good intent saying, hey, wait a minute, can't we come to an agreement because the whole country wants it? Unfortunately, the answer is no. It's because of money in politics and the lunatics on the right. And if you're not saying that and you're saying you can't tell who's at fault, well, that just isn't true and it isn't helping. Why are you blaming the left that 100% agrees with you? No, you've got to know who the real culprits are, and it is unquestionably the Republicans. Now, let's go to a different story where the Republicans are once again the culprits, because now this is the culture war issues and there are monsters in this area. So let's do it. You remember this kid? He was a cute little kid. He was on Silver Spoons. I used to watch it. Yeah, I'm that old. What a cute kid. Is it Ricky Schroder? You want to see what Ricky Schroder looks like today? He looks like this. That's fine. And, we're all about the same age. I got it. No problem. Except that guy's a demon. He is deeply immoral, evil demon. I'm going to explain why. I'm going to back it up, okay? So let me show you one of his tweets. He thinks there are demons. He took Pride Month, and it says at the top of the tweet, a little hint at what dwells at the heart of Pride Month. And of course, Pride Month is to celebrate LGBTQ folks in the country. And he boils down Pride Month to the 5 letters in the middle. He's like, and he makes it all red, demon. And then he says, he's got a quote from Job at the end. The Bible says of the prince of devils that he is king over all the children of pride. Okay, so he's saying that gay folks are demonic because he's sick. There's something wrong with him. He's evil. He's an immoral person. So you say, well, I mean, Cenk, it's just a matter of opinion, right? I mean, you think gay people have the same rights as straight people because we live in America and we believe in equality. Ricky Schroder and the right wing think, no, they're working with Beelzebub and they're, just because of who they are, they're evil and demonic and they should be bullied and harassed and laws should be passed against them. And if you see any kids who might be gay, you should bully and bully and bully them until terrible things happen. Well, what terrible things? Well, let me show you the numbers. A study of youth in grades 7 to 12 found that lesbian, gay, and bisexual youth were more than twice as likely to have attempted suicide as their heterosexual peers. You think that's just a coincidence? That they're twice as likely to commit suicide? Or do you think it might have to do with monsters like Ricky Schroder going, you're demonic, you're evil, your very nature is horrible? These sick, sick psychopaths are putting that poison in those kids' heads. And then some of them, a lot of them, commit suicide. I have more numbers for you. According to the survey, 45% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. Additionally, nearly 1 in 5 transgender and non-binary youth attempted suicide. 45% of all of them have considered suicide. Just random because everybody loves them, because they're equal? No, it's because we have a group of people in this country that are more immoral than the rest of us. They're bad people, they're evil. And they try to poison our kids' minds with depravity about how God created you wrong. You should feel guilty and shame for how God committed you. No, you're sick, Ricky Schroder. You're a sick, sick person, and you're trying to harm those kids. And in the case of the transgender and non-binary, Jesus Christ, 20% of them have attempted suicide. Could it be because they're targeted over and over again? Yes, I'm gonna show that to you in a second too. But I don't want you to just look at numbers. I want you to know these are real people. So this is Eli Fritchley. He's 12 years old, or he was 12 years old. He's from Tennessee, and the kids in school bullied him because they thought he was gay. They bullied and bullied and bullied until one day his parents found him dead. He had committed suicide. Ricky Schroder, you did that. You did that, you goddamn demon, you immoral son of a bitch. You disgusting, depraved human being, you did that. I'll show you another depraved human being who did it. It's this guy, Mitch McConnell, and Republican leadership overall. So all of those Republican leaders and at the state level, all of them fight for hundreds of laws against gay Americans. So once again, I will prove it to you. Here's a headline from NBC News. Nearly 240 anti-LGBTQ bills filed in 2022 so far. We're barely halfway through the year. We're not even halfway through the year. 240 a day. Most of them targeting trans people. But remember, in Florida, they have the Don't Say Gay bill, and there are many others across the country. They're trying to pass laws saying gay people, LGBTQ people are so terrible, we should pass laws against them. You shouldn't even be able to say that they exist in the state of Florida in a school. Okay, so that's 240. How about if you expand out over the last couple of years? Nearly 670 anti-LGBTQ bills have been filed since 2018, according to an NBC News analysis of data from the American Civil Liberties Union and the LGBTQ advocacy group Freedom for All Americans, with nearly all the country's 50 state legislatures all having weighed at least one bill. Don't tell me the Republicans aren't anti-gay. They passed 670 laws, bills, saying we are proudly anti-gay. We love terrorizing gay people in America. And we want to make them feel so bad that we, cross your fingers, Ricky Schroder and Mitch McConnell, that they commit suicide. I'll show you a bill of how these bills are proliferating throughout the country, because why? The Republicans love culture wars. They love to pick the others. They love to bully them. They love to call them immoral and evil, when in fact they are the height of immorality and evil in this country. And there they go, passing one after another, and it's only getting faster. So this is just in the last week. Just a couple of days ago, we covered this story for you guys. Ohio House bans transgender students in sports, requires genital exams in disputes. So they want to check the genitals of all your children because they're anti-gay and they think that trans people might be competing in sports. Louisiana just did this. Louisiana becomes latest state to ban transgender athletes in schools. And then just today, here's a tweet about this, about a Texas law that's being proposed by Brian Slayton. 2 weeks after 19 kids were slaughtered in a Texas elementary school, Texas lawmakers are finally banning, checks notes, drag queens. So Texas thinks drag queens are such a danger that they want to ban any kids ever seeing their existence. But guns that murdered 19 children in Texas, they say, no, make it more freely available. Take away gun control. Who cares if the kids are dead? Look at how many suicide we cause among gay kids. You think we care about kids? What a joke that the Republicans call themselves pro-life. They're anti-life, demonic, immoral people. And if you vote Republican, you're just as guilty. Don't tell me you didn't know they passed 670 laws against gay people in America. And don't tell me you didn't know it led to thousands upon thousands of suicides of young kids, because now you know. I'm gonna show you Eli one more time. That's Eli Fritchley. He's dead because of Republican, evil, demonic, immoral monsters who fight to make sure that we do not have equality in this country, that gay Americans are treated as second-class citizens. They bully those kids until some of them commit suicide. That's the sick people that are in the Republican Party today, Young Turks.
Ice cream.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk Uygur and William Stevenson with you guys. William just joined by hitting the join button below on YouTube. Look, if you're a member, not only do you get honest news, you also get us fighting for positive change in the country. And on top of that, you're probably gonna get $100, okay? So it's actually, you kind of can't lose. So the $100 gift card that we give away every week, we don't give away one, we give away 200 every week. Of the people that participate, an enormous percentage wins. So if you're a member and you play the game, you're very, very likely to win the $100 free gift card from Blue Apron. So tyt.com/join to become a member. And now it's open to the Facebook members and Twitch members as well. So make sure you go to tyt.com/food to figure out how to participate, but it takes like a minute. And then on Friday, we ask you the trivia question. If you get it right, boom, true gift card. You don't have to put your credit card information in and you win $100 in free food from Blue Apron. So check that out if you can. All right, time for the next story.
But what I did find was something no prayer will ever relieve. 2 children whose bodies had been pulverized by bullets fired at them, decapitated, whose flesh had been ripped apart, that the only clue as their identities was a blood-splattered cartoon clothes still clinging to them, clinging for life and finding none.
So that is a doctor from Uvalde. Now, this story is about Brett Kavanaugh and how somebody might have been trying to assassinate him. So why did I bring that doctor in? Well, you're gonna see later in the story, and it's important to the story because it tells you how different Americans are treated. But let's find out about what happened to Kavanaugh today. A man armed with a pistol and a knife and other weapons was arrested near the Maryland home of Justice Brett Kavanaugh early Wednesday after he said that he traveled from California to kill the Supreme Court justice, federal officials said. Now, that is deeply disturbing. I'm gonna give you some more disturbing and ironic details here, and then I'm gonna tell you what should happen in this case, and then we're gonna go back to Uvalde. So Mr. Roski told the police that he was upset about the leak of a recent Supreme Court draft decision regarding the right to abortion, as well as the recent school shootings in Uvalde, Texas. Wait a minute, You're worried about shootings and you were going to go shoot the guy. Interesting. Roski indicated that he believed that the justice that he intended to kill would side with the Second Amendment decisions that would loosen gun control laws. Okay, let me give you more details about that irony. When authorities searched his suitcase and a backpack, they found a black tactical chest rig and a tactical knife, a pistol with 2 magazines and ammunition, pepper spray, zip ties, a hammer, a screwdriver, a nail punch, a crowbar, a pistol, light, and duct tape, in addition to other items according to that affidavit. Okay, what are you doing? What kind of an argument is we should have more gun control, so I'm gonna use a gun to kill somebody? That makes no sense at all. So guys, if you're on the left, you should never, ever do violence. Now that's obvious, I think, to almost everyone. I know there are people who've got issues in their lives and they don't listen to reason or logic or anyone telling them to do something that makes sense. But I'm gonna say it anyway. If you use violence, number one, it is immoral. You lose the moral high ground instantly. It is the wrong thing to do. It is a terrible thing to do. Okay, number two, if you're looking at it just from a political perspective, well, what are they gonna do? Rhetorically, Fox News and all the right wing are gonna say, oh, now we're even. Yeah, people who were inspired by us did dozens of mass shootings, hundreds are dead, but that one lunatic went and tried to kill Kavanaugh. So, hey, it's all even, right? It's not at all even, but you help their cause when you do that. Again, it doesn't really matter because you shouldn't kill someone anyway under any and all circumstances. So it couldn't be more counterproductive. And if you talk about laws that are passed, you think they're gonna pass laws against the right wing and making sure that they look into white supremacist extremists that are acquiring an arsenal of weapons? No, the minute they start to pass laws, they're gonna look into the left wing and they're gonna use this guy as an excuse on the guy that this Steve Scalise is shooting, right? Those are the 2 guys from the left wing that have done political or tried or thought about political shootings. The guy that shot Scalise actually did it. Meanwhile, there's dozens of cases on the other side, but no, they'll talk about this for the rest of our lives, okay? So it's a terrible idea, even if you cared about the politics of it. But again, look, let me give you a fourth argument, even though all of this is unnecessary because of the first argument, you shouldn't kill anyone. And the progressive position is to help people and save people, not to harm them or kill them. But the fourth argument is, if you ever have to do any kind of physical violence, that means you lost the debate. That means you're throwing your hands up going, I'm a dum-dum, I don't know how to win a debate, so I'm just gonna shoot the other guy. That's usually what the right wing does. But under no circumstances should the left wing do that. We are right in our opinions. We are right both morally and intellectually. We never ever have to resort to violence. Okay, so what does this have to do with the Uvalde shootings? Well, I mean, you know some of the victims and here, let's show you a picture. Just so you're clear, every time we talk about it, I want you to understand not just numbers and not just generic talk of kids, but these are the kids that were shot at, okay? Every time I see them, my heart breaks. So now let me show you another picture. This is the leader of the Republicans, Mitch McConnell. Well, he says, no, we're not gonna do any gun control. I don't care about the kids that were shot. I don't care about that doctor telling me how gruesome it was. We're not gonna do any gun control. And by the way, if you try to get us to do gun control the day after or the week after or the month after, we're gonna say, you're politicizing the issue. You're politicizing the tragedy. We're not supposed to act right afterwards. No way. No, you have to cool off and make sure you don't do anything. But wait a minute. What was his reaction to the Kavanaugh situation today? Well, let's find out.
This is exactly the kind of event that many feared that the terrible breach of the court's rules and norms could fuel. This is exactly the kind of event that many worried the unhinged, reckless, apocalyptic rhetoric from prominent figures toward the court going back many months, and especially in recent weeks, could make more likely.
So now he's concerned. He's like, whoa, wait a minute. That's a Republican and a member of the elites. Your kids are dead, don't care, never gonna act on it. We got one more from McConnell? Okay, you know what McConnell said later in that video? He then said, we have to act today. We must act today. Well, what happened to not politicizing a tragedy? I think possible attempt on Kavanaugh's life is an absolute tragedy. I agree with you, Mitch McConnell, on that. But why do you have to act today? Today, you tell me when there's 19 dead kids in Texas that we don't have to act today, that we don't even have to ever act. But God forbid you touch the elites. I'm going to go back to that doctor from Uvalde. I want you to see his full testimony.
But what I did find was something no prayer will ever relieve. 2 children whose bodies have been pulverized by bullets fired at them, decapitated, whose flesh had been ripped apart, that the only clue as their identities was a blood-splattered cartoon clothes still clinging to them, clinging for life and finding none.
The kids were decapitated because the guy used an AR-15. Mitch McConnell says, no, we will not ban AR-15s. We will not move the age limit of AR-15s. We will not put a weight limit on waiting period for AR-15s. We will not do federal background checks, which are 88% popular in this country. Overwhelming majority of Republican voters want it. I will not do any of those. I will not do red flag laws to catch people who have mental health issues, who are armed and dangerous. I don't care about your decapitated kids. But Kavanaugh, oh my God, it's one of the elites. It's my Republican friend. We have to act today, Mitch McConnell says. We should act on Kavanaugh, but we should also act to protect our own children. Now, you see, this is how the elites work. This is how Republicans think. If it's a friend of mine, then I care a lot. If it's your kids, I don't care at all. That's what Mitch McConnell just told you. All right, we're out of time in the first hour. When we come back, John Iadarola is going to join me, and we're going to show you what corporate rule looks like. So again, you'll never see this in any other part of the mainstream media because MSNBC and Fox News both love corporate rule. We're going to show you how they're robbing us. This robbery is on an epic scale and might destroy the whole planet. And those are not exaggerations. You'll see when we return. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.